Hello and welcome to GM Tips. This is GM Rick here, and I just wanted to get another great GM Tips out there, right? I'm glad you guys like these. I really do, and I'm glad I'm reaching people. I really appreciate the support and those of you that subscribe and that give me great comments. You guys go a long way, and you're the whole reason I continue to do this, and will be the whole reason I continue to do this. So keep them coming. Keep the feedback coming to Rick M, the GM, without a K, on Twitter. You guys know what to do on YouTube, and if you guys want, it's RICMOH, so RICMOH45@gmail.com. So you can also hit me there. Again, another GM Tips, and what am I going to do things on now? I've covered a lot of topics. You know, you're like, God, Rick, you're into 100 and some odd GM tips. What more can you do? Well, there is more. Surprisingly, there is more. And, I'll branch out now. Some good news for those of you that do Numenera. I will eventually do some stuff on that. And I've gotten now the PDF of the core rulebook and the bestiary. So I'm looking forward to it. I really am. And as I get into that, I look forward to commenting. I will do some more with the Deadlands. I've got some of their stuff as well, and I will probably do Deadlands Reloaded at some point and give some great tips there. And then I've got, of course, the D20 Modern and Future and Past. I've got those. I can do those any day of the week. And Freeport, I can do that. So keep in mind, I may do some of those coming up. But what's today's topic? I think this is a really fun topic. I think doing a thief/rogue/scoundrel type of campaign. How do you put together something like that? Why do I pick this topic? Because I've run as a player in a campaign like that before, where we had a GM that said, let's do an all-rogue campaign. And I said, wow, what a concept. And this was back in 3035 D&D, but this could be used, don't get me wrong, any genre. It doesn't have to be just in fantasy. It can be run in modern. It can be run in superhero. It can be run in, or supervillain. It can be run in space and futuristic. The heist campaign is a lot of fun. And having a group that bases their characters and the whole campaign around performing heists and jobs, it's a lot of just chaotic fun. And if you guys have ever watched Leverage or some of those other shows on TV, it works and it sells and people love it. So GMs, don't rule out the idea of an all-rogue campaign. Okay? The first thing you have to do is put out the framework of how it's going to work. So in a space age campaign, smugglers. I love the idea of smugglers. Smugglers can do so much, either for the good or the evil or just the profit of a campaign. And so there's so many different paths you can take that. You can be smugglers for the rebels in the Star Wars campaigns. Or you can be smugglers for the Empire into the rebels area to take down the rebels. Or you can just be smugglers, to be another Jabba the Hutt, where you're making profit and making the world go round. So there's a lot you can do with that. In a hero campaign or villain campaign, you can be those kind of seedy elements, the Deadpool types, that are just kind of out there for doing jobs and heists and different things. Look at the Marvel and the DC comics that were done off of those type of characters. And they can be smuggling information. They can be smuggling rare exotic things back and forth. They may be your Indiana Jones type that are looking for rare things that are unfound treasures around the world, or powerful items that could lead to a shift in the balance of power. So, again, a lot you can do with that. Modern campaigns, so say you're doing a Call of Cthulhu. The rogue types that are trying to maybe smuggle the Cthulhu books out of an area to get rid of them. So they go in and they steal them from the cults and the people who are trying to build things up. Or maybe they steal them for the cults. Or maybe they just steal them because they're worth a lot of money. the dangers and the fun involved with that, it just takes it to a whole other level. Now you're not fighting a monster or a villain or something necessarily. You're doing your own way of getting through the world. And so it's kind of interesting and unique. So keep that in mind. I love scaring the cat. When they want fish water, I scare them away by throwing a mechanical pencil. Bad. So you can do that. Now, in fantasy campaigns, there's a ton to be done. Or privateer, so like 7th Sea or some of these other ones, like Freeport. The bootleggers, the privateers, the rogues that can steal from the privateers. You don't even have to be on a ship. You can be a guild that steals from the pirates that are in power. So keep that in mind. There's a lot of different plots you can do. So the first thing you've got to do is lay out a plot. What plot makes sense? And again, there's so many plots. So let me give you some ideas and plots for all of them. These can be for fantasy or otherwise. So the first one, stealing high tech to get ahead of the competitor. You know the campaigns, you can put that one into. Maybe it's stealing highly valued treasures for different collectors. Or is collecting for a society. So say a society hires your guild to go and be the treasure hunters that acquire things for them. Because they're looking for those rare to find things, pieces of knowledge, pieces of power, pieces of the old world, pieces of maybe the arcane that they can't get their hands on otherwise. So a Doctor Strange type of deal, where you're trying to steal the arcane books to put them away so they're kept in a safe place and used properly. Maybe it's done for an infernal empire that wants to gain power and gain further diabolical knowledge. So you could do a campaign like that. Maybe it's stealing treasures from dragons. So the dragons have looted treasures of wonder from different empires and heroes. And those different realms want those things back. Those were items that were powerful items for them. So you're going against some sort of a smog like nasty. And you're trying to gain that treasure and bring it back home to its proper places it belongs. Maybe you're doing it for your own guild's power and prestige. To say that, you know what, I acquired the following items and we've got them in our inventory because that was a major heist job that we could do to build our own reputation. Maybe it's stealing things from the elder gods that would keep them from basically ruling the world, but you wanted to make your mark known and let them know that, hey, you know what, we can take things from you too. So there's a lot of different kind of plot themes you can go along with this. What we did in the campaign that I ran one that was based in the city of Cauldron. You guys remember that, the Shackled City, from back in 3.5. For those of you that played D&D 3.5, you guys are going, yes, I remember it. Paizo Publishing put this out. It was a hardcover book. Yes. And I had the characters run rogues through it. We want to talk about something interesting. But they took a different twist on everything. Where everything is laid out for a martial party or a spell-casting party, the rogues we had a little different twist on it. They used illusory magic. They used charm magic. They used other things to try to win the day and battle the baddies and yet set up their own businesses within the city of Cauldron. It was interesting. And the party did amazing things with it. And I will say this. It took the flavor of a whole different running of the adventure. So you can take any of the Paizo Publishing paths, or the, if I can talk this morning, or Wizards of the Coast, or Dungeon Age, or Dungeon World, or 13th Age paths that they publish, that are published paths, and put a rogue group in there. And then twist it a little bit so that it goes towards what their goals as a guild or a group would be. Why would all these rogues come together? Why would they work with each other? And they don't have to be straight rogue classes. They can be split classes. So they can be a rogue cleric. They can be a rogue ranger. They can be a rogue thief. They can be a rogue whatever. And it's just, it kind of gets interesting when you look at this. Because rogues will go at something very differently than martial characters will. They don't have the hit points to go toe-to-toe with the bad guys all the time. So they have to be evasive and elusive. They have to be much more in the shadows and doing things that way. They have to be undermining things. They have to be sabotaging or stealing things that is not planned for in that whole campaign. What does it do? It adds a new breath of life to it. Even if people know how it goes, it doesn't matter, because now you don't have the same mix of characters going in to try to battle it. And maybe you say to the rangers or those that are rogue mages or wizards and rogue sorcerers and rogue warlocks, you got to do things a little different. I don't want you just having crash, bash, boom, bam, blow them up power. I want you to use much more subterfuging ideas and reward them on it. Reward them extra goals, gains, experience, boons, power, whatever you want to do. But reward them at playing the more rogue they can. And that's stealth, elusive, BS, lies, twisting of things, forgeries. This becomes, and I love this book for it. Again, we go back to this one. This talks about, and I've noticed this with some of the newer PFS modules. They give you paths to do the verbal combats and jousting with people for power. I love it because what it does is it pushes people to think outside of the box to role play more. It maybe takes them out of the comfort zone of what they're used to. You know, I've got a guy in my group, it would take him way out of his comfort zone. And I love it because I want to challenge him that way. I want him to go that way. And maybe that's what I put into one of my Adventure Path flavors coming up. The new one, I may let them do what they want. But then the one following that, I might just say, hey, you know what, guys? Let's do something roguey. Let's do something out of the box. So the second thing you got to do is you got to plan to reward your players for heists and other things. So this becomes a real important thing when you're working with that. You have to look at what can we do to reward them this. So you've got to attach XP points, prestige points to it, or fame points, however you want to do them. And that way they get rewarded for those kind of things. So I think that's a real key when it comes to that. What do you want to watch next, Bug? This one? You can hear it. Oh, you want to go Sophia? Okay, which Sophia one do you want to watch? Sorry, guys. Bear with me. Octonauts? Okay. You want to watch Sophia. This is the fun I get to do in between these GM tips. Unfortunately, my GM tips. This one? Okay. See how easy that is? When you have kids, you're going to find this with your podcast. Unless you go somewhere and you hide, it isn't going to happen. Okay? So you guys get giggles out of this one because you get to hear the little voice in the background. So what they do in this case, they give you ideas on it. They give you XP points. So you gain influence. You gain different things, benefits. So, you know, from different things, you gain benefits by doing different things. So you got to give them some more things. So, for instance, maybe you give them ranks in a group. Like in a crime syndicate. Let me give you a perfect example. Crime syndicate, they got the names of them, the values, they give the syndicate values, the public goals, private goals, allies, enemies, and stuff, and influence limitations. Each time the PCs want to reach a new rank, they must prove their worth to the organization with a task more spectacular than the last one. The syndicate has plenty of members and does not spare time for those unwilling to prove their worth each time. PCs declare their allegiance to reach rank 1, and they must become full members before they can reach rank 2. I love this. See, it lays out an organization and what things are. And then the benefits. Rank 1, you can borrow resources, up to 100 gold pieces. You can get a plus 15 to casing things. Diversion gets plus 15 in gathering information and lookout. gets some bonuses to it. Rank 2, you get 1,000. Put in the good word to remove evidence from a site that you robbed. Rob a site or search black market. Rank 3, borrow resources up to 5,000. Command a team, 1d4 NPCs. At 3rd level or 3d4 first level. Destroy evidence, market manipulation, and reciprocal benefits. Rank 4, black market mastery. Borrow resources up to 15,000 and command a larger team. So what it does is it benefits the party every time they gain ranks, every time they do a job. Every heist adds up. And so that's why these things can be so important and special for you as a GM, because now you're letting them build their own syndicate. And that syndicate later on can come up as NPCs in the next campaign where they're running a different set of characters. So maybe it becomes a place they can go to get help in the next set of campaign. There's so much you can do with this, and it's so memorable. And some of you have done it, but those of you that haven't, I really tell you, go for it. And this book gives you great ideas. I'm telling you, if you haven't got the PDF of Pathfinder, Paizo Pathfinder's Ultimate Tree, get it. Get it and adapt it to your campaign. And I'm a believer of that. I think too often we let systems be systems. So you say, okay, this is my Paizo Pathfinder. This is my 5e. This is my Numenera. This is my Savage Worlds. This is my Dresden Files Savage Worlds. This is my other one, Savage Worlds. This is my Mutants and Masterminds. This is my Hero System 4. This is my what's the one? God dang it. I'm trying to think of the one that is our cyberpunk one. You guys know which one it is. This is my Vampire, the Requiem one. So I'm going to keep all these resources separate. Why? Why, GMs, do you limit yourself? Don't do that. Please don't do that. Utilize resources from all kinds of systems. Bring them in. Work together with them. If somebody else comes up with a great idea, so what? Incorporate it into your system. It's worth the money because the ideas you're going to get from it. The one thing I hear time and again from every one of you as a whole, when I look at all the sites that I'm a part of and a member of, how do you prevent GM burnout? How do I quit being burned out? I'm burned out. I'm Shadowrun. Sorry, that's the other system. Think of me like Doug on Up. Squirrel. Yeah, that's how I am some days. So you got to sit there and say to yourself, I burn out because I'm unwilling to go other places to get ideas. Folks, I'll be frank with you. I have GM'd the past, oh my gosh, I'm sitting here thinking about this. How long has it been? Almost 10 years? I have GM'd straight 10 years, okay? Then I played some before that. I got lucky. I got to play a little bit. I played a tiny bit in those 10 years. And then before that, I played some. So let's add up my years of playing. My years of playing is probably about 6 years of being a PC. So other than that, of my 30-plus years, 24 of those years have been GMing and DMing. How do you think I keep going 24 years without burning out? Because I'm constantly looking for new ideas. I'm constantly looking for ways of doing things differently and maybe modifying it in such a way it's more fun for me as a GM as well as the players. That's how you prevent burnout. You've got to quit this. My players like me running a campaign this way, so I'm always going to keep it this way. Horse manure. Okay? Try something new. Like I'm suggesting here. I've had so much fun with the idea of rogues. Now, so the rewards, what are the rewards? Like we talked about, they can be boons and banes. They can be different things that go on for prestige and fame. Some things will be harder because when you make a prestige as a group, so for instance, you become more prestigious in that syndicate. Well, that also makes you more infamous around the city. So doing jobs becomes more difficult. See where I'm going to with this, GMs? And then it becomes more difficult for the player to accomplish these tasks. Don't be afraid to make the tasks a reach for them. The players will love you for it. In the beginning, they're not going to love you. They're going to get mad at you and say, oh my gosh, what are you doing to me? But at the end of it, they're going to go, oh, please, I hope the next one's as fun as this one. You make them reach. You make them stretch. You make them do things that are just outside of their comfort zone, but not too much, because you don't want to put it at the impossible. But you want them to go, oh, I'm strenuously going after this, because when they accomplish it, it's going to be such a huge accolade for them. And they can say, man, we did this, and I don't know how we did it. How do we beat the Lich with a bunch of rogues? How did we defeat a Lich with rogues? It doesn't make any sense. Because Liches need paladins and all kinds of other things and clerics. And yet, with our roguish clerics, they weren't as effective as the good clerics like of Iomedae and of Pelor and of, I can go across the gods and goddesses. And so you kind of give them that breadth of stretching themselves. And that's what you have to do. And there's so many different heists. There are lists you can look at online. There are books that are sold that talk about that. And you can flavor and do things so much differently. And you got to think about how many heists there are. Watch a program like Leverage or Neil Caffrey and his little deal. And those will all be good things for you. So, all right, guys, that's it. That's my GM tips on that. Have fun with roguey campaigns. This is GM Rick signing out.